Hi, folks. This is Don Meisner with the North Country Fishing Report. You know, a week ago, I tried to tell you, I called my buddy Dave and I asked him what fishing has meant to him and how it changes each year. And I just called my buddy Rust. I wanted to ask him the same question. I took him by surprise. And Rust is a very, you have to know Rust. You have to know how his mind works, how incredible his energy level is, both in a positive and negative way for him. So when I asked him the question, he was like, oh my goodness, wow. And he thought for a second. He says, okay, I'm going to answer this because I think the answer is both very, very simple and very, very philosophical. And so he started to tell me. And I know that Rust was opening himself up like so many of us are so afraid to do. You know, self-revealing times can really affect us, both negatively and positively, depending on who we are. But Russ started to tell me, he says, he says, I will tell you that maybe there's two things in my entire life that have saved me, that have helped me go forward, because he says, I am so tensely wrapped up inside. And he said, one of them along the way of my life was meeting my wife. And he said the other one, and I can't give it as great of importance, obviously, way down in importance, but still life-giving to me, was finding fishing. And he says both of them have given me the ability to live. He says, I want you to remember something. Life isn't a choice, and it's not easy. You know, we all come into this, and going through life can be a tremendous struggle. But finding these two things, and he says, what are these two things? Number one is love. And love comes when you have the right partner in your life, the right marriage that you can count on, that feeling, and you can count on the feeling that you can give to that other person. I think it's the most powerful feeling in the world. It helps us go on. And the second thing is discovering who we are inside and finding a way to channel who we are in the most positive way as we go forward. And that's what fishing is to him. He says, I found it by accident. And Russ's life has been an amazing life, a life where he had to investigate the last rites of death row inmates when he worked for this big law firm in Oklahoma City or Tulsa, one of those, Kansas City, someplace there. And that was a profoundly impacting life, because you start to absorb all the trauma of all those people and families that you go before. And finding fishing, he found it first in trout fishing in the Rockies, and then coming to this area where his wife was able to get a job. She has her PhD and she's a professor in Potsdam. And so he came along with her to an area he'd never been to up here in upstate New York, found fishing as a way to almost like spur him forward into a whole new life of discovery. And, Rust is a tremendous friend to me, and he teaches me so much along the way, not so much about fishing, but about life itself and how to think and how to feel and so forth. And I want to and I want to say that there's another way that fishing brings something to all of us. And fishing brings to me the ability to form friendships. And those friendships that are based on fishing seem to have the potential to be so deep. Because when you share time with somebody out there in the elements, away from all the other social structures that exist within our lives, all the things that we have to do every day of our lives. When you're out there with a person under those conditions, it becomes so different. Those bonds of friendship can become so deep based on the very basic, elementary things that you share together. And fishing has given me that. It's given me friends like Rust and my buddy Dave Swanson and some of my buddies that have passed on before me. Those times we spent on the water were the times that formed a friendship that goes deep into our soul. And that's why I talk to you about fishing and sometimes go on about these other things. But that's what fishing gives to me. And now when we're in a time of Thanksgiving and Christmas, when we look to give thanks, to look at our life in a way that we might not through the rest of the year. This is a time when we really can reflect on friendships and love and the ways that we found those things, the ways through fishing. And I'll tell you, for my own self, my greatest love in my life is my family. The love for my mother and father and my kids, and the love that I have forged with somebody in my life that has made my life at this stage more meaningful, more powerful, more deep than it could have ever been without finding that deep love. So, forgive me for going on like this, but this is what I think of, is I think of fishing. I think of all those things. Until next time, folks, this is Don Meisner with the North Country Fishing Report.